You know, every single building you see, from a tiny house to a massive skyscraper, it all starts with just stuff from the earth. So today, let's trace that incredible journey of our building materials, from a raw chunk of rock or a tree in the forest to the very structures that shape our world.
It really gets you thinking, doesn't it? I mean, we're surrounded by all these buildings every day, but we hardly ever stop to consider the incredible trip their parts took. How in the world does a slab of rock buried deep in the ground or a tree standing in a forest actually transform into the fabric of our cities?
Yeah, pretty much every brick, every beam, every window pane has this whole backstory. It's a story of being pulled from the earth, of being refined and shaped, and made stronger through some really complex processes. So let's start digging into that story.
All right, so our journey starts deep inside the earth. We're going to begin with one of the oldest, most reliable building materials humans have ever used: stone. And to get our hands on it, we've got to go right to the source, the quarry.
So what is quarrying exactly? Well, it is so much more than just digging a hole. You should really think of it as industrial-scale surgery on the Earth's crust. It's this highly engineered process designed to carefully and safely extract enormous blocks of rock right out of the ground.
It's this huge operation, and you can really break it down into three big steps. First, geologists have to survey the land to find the absolute best quality stone. Then comes the really dramatic part, either controlled blasting or super precise cutting to free that stone from the mountain. And finally, massive machinery comes in to haul these colossal blocks away for the next part of their adventure.
Okay, so we've got this giant, rough block of stone. Super impressive, right? But you can't really build anything with it just yet. Now comes the next crucial phase, which is all about giving it a shape and a purpose.
This is where we get to a process called dressing. And it's so cool because it's where that raw power from the quarry meets some real detailed craftsmanship. Dressing is the art of cutting and shaping that stone into the exact sizes and textures needed for construction. Everything from a perfectly smooth kitchen countertop to a rough, rugged-looking wall.
This quote just captures the whole idea so perfectly. It's not about just hacking away at a rock, right? It's about seeing the potential that's already hidden inside. In a way, every single stonemason is kind of a sculptor, and their job is to find that perfect form inside a raw, natural block.
Okay, let's switch gears. We're going to move from the earth to the forest. Timber, or wood, is another absolute cornerstone of construction. But, you know, just like with stone, you can't just chop down a tree and start building with it. It has to be tamed first, prepared for its new job in a building.
So the most critical part of getting timber ready is something called seasoning. See, freshly cut wood, people often call it green timber, is just full of water. Seasoning is the process of carefully drying all that moisture out, which makes the wood way stronger, much lighter, and a lot less likely to bend, shrink, or crack over time.
And get this is wild timber. Can lose up to 90% of its weight just from seasoning. That's right, 90% of a fresh log's weight is literally just water. Getting rid of that moisture is what transforms it from a heavy, unstable log into a reliable, strong building material.
So how do they actually do this? Well, there are basically two main ways. Natural seasoning is the old school way. You just stack the wood with plenty of space and let the air do all the work. It's cheap, but man, it can take years. The modern way is artificial seasoning inside a kiln, which uses controlled heat and humidity. It's way faster and gives you a ton of control, but it's also more expensive. What you choose really just depends on the wood and its final purpose.
Okay, so we've got our stone from the quarry, we've got our timber from the forest. They're strong, they're shaped, but are they really ready to face the world for decades, centuries even? Not quite. This brings us to the final and absolutely critical step: preservation.
You can think of preservation as giving our building materials a suit of armor. It's all about treating them to fight off their natural enemies, things like rot, pesky insects, water damage, sun damage, all that stuff. This is the science that makes sure a building isn't just built, but that it's built to last.
And there are a ton of different ways to do this. For wood, you've probably heard of pressure treating. That's where they force chemical preservatives deep into the wood. For both wood and stone, you've got protective coatings like paints and sealants that create a barrier. There are even these ancient techniques that are still used today, which is pretty cool. Like charring the surface of wood to make it resistant to fire and rot, or polishing stone to a mirror shine to seal out moisture.
So, at the end of the day, all these things we've talked about, quarrying, dressing, seasoning, preserving, they're not just jargon. They are the essential, careful science that turns raw nature into the safe, strong, and durable buildings we depend on every single day. It's basically the hidden engineering that holds our world together.
So, from a mountain all the way to a skyscraper, what an incredible journey. For thousands of years, stone and wood have been the foundation of human civilization. So the big question for us is, what new materials and what incredible new transformations are going to build the world of tomorrow? Thanks for joining me for this one.